How do you deal with an overly friendly neighbor who asks too many questions about your life when you happen to be outdoors at the same time? I live in an extremely religious community, Mormon, so this happens all the time. I used to try to be vague and give hints, but the best technique I have found is this one. I'm kind of a private person, and then I compliment them on something I have noticed. Nice grass or hey, thanks for checking on me. I know it comes from a good place. I'm that neighbor. I'm an older lady who lives alone and I'm just trying to make a connection with my neighbors. If something happens to me or my pets, I'd like someone nearby to at least notice they haven't seen me in a while or worry about my pets. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the swag. Second edit. Come on over, neighbors. I'm making brownies. You ever been in a storm, Wally? Wow. The responses. Some good, soon are clearly trying to be funny, but some are disturbing. Look, it is important to be on good, if not, friendly terms with your neighbors. You will have them in your life for a long time, whether you like it or not. The responses that recommend short, vague answers, where you follow up with questions of your own, are the best. You may very well discover a new friend, or you may both realize you don't click and you will naturally not take it any further. But you will be left with a neighbor that is at least on good terms. Remember, they may be the person to notice you being robbed when you are not home, or notice the smoke from a fire first, or be accepting of the noise from a large party you decide to throw. There could be a lot of reasons they are talkative, and not all of them are them just being nosy or a DCK. They could be genuinely interested, lonely, had a bad neighbor in that house previously, etc., to name a few. Edit. Wow. This really blew up. Thank you for all the awards. Gold and silver. That's never happened to me. I've tried to read all the comments and clearly the whole concept of community, neighbor, friendship, loneliness, etc. has struck a nerve. I hope that op finds something useful and relevant to his situation. I've learned this lesson a very hard way. I've known my neighbor 56 meters for around 15 years and considered him a family friend. He watched me grow up, and our families have even taken a vacation together. He was always nosy and asked personal questions, but I shrugged it off as that's just how he is. That was until my girlfriend 20th moved in with us. He slowly became more and more friendly with her, asking her where she works, about her family, and slowly changing his personality to hers. I suspected something was going on. Keep in mind, he is married with a daughter still in high school. One day I came home from work and my girlfriend was sharing a beer and talk with him in his garage. Nothing out of the normal. He frequently invited us over for beers and whatnot, so I thought nothing of it. A few days later my girlfriend comes to me in tears, and not of sadness, but of frightened tears. After what seemed like forever, she told me that the night she had a beer with him, he told her horrible things, that he wanted to FCK her brains out and steal her and tie her up. Has thought about breaking into our home and taking advantage of her. He as well broke into her car and was leaving her love notes. My once friendly neighbor went crazy. I confronted him about the situation and he admitted to it and told me I was no good and did not deserve her. And keep in mind, he told me this in his backyard with his wife and daughter home. Fast forward a month later. In this time he hasn't showed his face since. My girlfriend gets off work early, and as she is walking into our house, he was hiding in the bushes asking if she was afraid of him. She ran inside, and we had to call the police. And for the next 2 months he sat on his property line next to ours with a small foldable chair and just watched our house. So the best way to deal with a overly nosy neighbor is to cut the convo short and walk away. If you're not very open to chat, just keep things polite yet quick. It's nice to have a good relationship with your neighbors. If they do delve into personal questions, just say that's a bit personal. I'd rather not talk about that. Most important thing is to be polite. Don't be in a shoal or act standoffish when it's not necessary. Honestly, just use some common sense. Don't be a redditor, is all I'm saying. Try having a neighbor who tracks when you leave and arrive back home. Talks to your boss about your work schedule and when you're actually supposed to be at home. Asking my boss if I had COVID when she noticed I hadn't left the house in a couple days. The list goes on and on. I f***ing hate nosy neighbors. Is your life really that miserable you have to worry about strangers? I told her off, and we are currently looking to move. Some people are just bad neighbors. I had an old neighbor like this once. It was back when I lived in a small conservative town in the US Midwest, still pretty freshly married and also freshly out my own with my wife. Anyway, my wife and I would always be sitting on the front porch of the place we lived up a lower style duplex. We both worked a lot. Seeing as how we were working minimum wage jobs at the time, we had to work a lot so we could pay bills and eat and put some money back. So the little time we had to relax and unwind together was pretty precious to us. Still is TBH. So a few months pass of us living at this place, and one day this very tall, very bald, black man just walked up onto the porch while we are sitting there relaxing. We've had a pretty good amount of sketchy people see us on the porch and either ask us to bum smokes, or if they can have some loose change, or if we know where to get any good drugs. I only mention his race because this is very conservative town in the pretty rural Midwest. We kinda look at each other and him as he's walking up and say, "Hi, how are you?" Not KOing what to expect. He replies, "Hi, how y'all doing tonight? My name is Thomas, but y'all can just call me T. I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself. I live in that house right over there." Holds his arm up and flips his hand down to point at a nearby house very effeminately, and I just wanted to come meet the neighbors and let y'all know if you need anything ever. Just let me know. Welcome to the neighborhood. Us. Oh hey, thanks for introducing yourself, man. My name is Atlas, is my son, and this is my wife. Atlas is also my son. That's very cool of you to walk over here and do that. We've only met our upstairs neighbor so far, and that's because I work with him and we have some beers with him occasionally. Think the neighborhood is nice so far. etc. Small talk. His response to this to me was, oh, you mind if I come and smoke a cigarette with y'all and talk for a second? I'll fill y'all in on all the dirty details of the neighborhood. Nothing too bad really, sorry, it's not dirty, but I'll just tell y'all a little about the other neighbors. Being too polite to say no so far at this point. Yeah sure, come on up and have a seat wherever you'd like. So he grabs a chair beside me and sits down. Looking at my wife, so is you two really married? Us, holding hands and wearing our wedding bands. Yeah, working on our first year pretty soon. Thomas, still looking at my wife. MMPH girl, you are one lucky lady to be married to a man that looks as good as this. I'm not gay or anything but girl. If you didn't say you was married just now, I'd be trying to get him to drink some beers with right now. Now looking at me, bashfully he. Anyway, I'd say anywhere from once a week to once every few months. Thomas would randomly see us sitting on the porch and come up and make vague flirtatious remarks to me and tell us how wonderful we were and how happy he was that we were neighbors. He eventually came out to us officially lol and was so happy that we were still accepting of him. Even though he was a sinner, he cried and told us we were the biggest blessing he ever had in his life. Many times he was annoying and we just wanted to sit on our porch alone and enjoy the peace and quiet. But as a gay black man in a small, mainly white, very conservative town, he needed our support more than we needed the peace and quiet those nights. And oddly enough, even though he wasn't an incredibly bright man in a lot of regards, he always seemed to say something that was incredibly insightful and thoughtful to what was going on with us, either at work or with distant relatives or something, that there is literally no possible way of him KOing about us, and he always said it about himself. He drank too much and smoked too much ed, but he was always just looking to escape the pain of literally everyone being accepting of who he was as a person, and him just wanting to be liked. Anyway, there isn't a happy ending, or a sad one. My wife and I moved back out west to be near family and finish school after we had our daughter, and that was the last I heard from Thomas. We exchanged phone numbers so that we could stay in touch, but he never contacted me, and the 2 times I tried to contact him, he was out of minutes or had maybe gotten a new phone number.